Alrighty folks, thanks for clicking on this video. James Cards FC here, and today I'm going to be going through this for a second time because my first take I could not get any of this correct and my dog kept getting in the way, so we're going to try this again, take number 2. We're going to talk about the Mega Cracks rookies for Messi and Ronaldo that just sold on PWCC Premier last night from the day I think that I'm going to be posting this, which would have been Thursday the 6th, Thursday, June the 16th. See, I'm already messing up. This is just not my day. We're going to talk about these sales. The Messi sold for $312,000. The Ronaldo sold for $144,000. So we're going to talk about some of the fundamentals of why that happened and which of these buyers ended up maybe making a better purchase. So without further ado, let's get into the pure card versus card fundamentals. And in my opinion, the prices that these sold for, given the fundamentals, do make sense. So starting with the Messi, this is a Pop 20 card in PSA 10, and there have been no new 10s added to the population report over the year, so at this point we would assume it's unlikely that we see them in the future. Maybe there's an outside chance somebody cracks a BGS 9.5 with good subs and is able to get a 10, or maybe some wax is open and somebody finds a pristine copy, but outside of that happening, and especially given that that hasn't happened once in the past year, it's unlikely at this point that we add another PSA 10 to the population report. So the selling price for it was $312,000. You multiply that by the pop and you get the market cap of $6.24 million. So this is the sales history of that Messi card. So it's had 6 sales in the past 2 years and 1 sale prior to this 300K jump that it saw. That's going to be important later when we talk about the Ronaldo. So shifting over to the Ronaldo, this is a Pop 38, so about double the pop of the Messi, and there are no new 10s added to the pop report over the year, as well as the Messi. So at this point, it's unlikely that either of these receive another PSA 10, again, unless wax is opened and somebody is fortunate enough to find a pristine copy, or somebody wants to crack a BGS 10 or a BGS 9.5 with good subgrades and then gets lucky with the PSA crossover. So outside of those things happening, these populations are pretty set in stone. The selling price was $144,000. Multiply that by the pop, your market cap is around $5.5 million. And this is the sales history over the same time period of the Ronaldo rookie. So you can see I wrote down here that 13 sales have happened in the past 2 years as opposed to the 6 for the Messi. Makes sense given their populations, this would sell more. The interesting one is that 9 sales happened prior to its 300K jump. So this is the maximum point so far of the Ronaldo rookie, and there were 9 sales that happened before it, whereas in the same 2-year period, there was 1 sale that happened prior to the 300K jump for the Messi. So that gets important when we talk about the pricing history, because there's a lot of people that were able to buy in this range that didn't have to pay 300K, whereas in this range, everybody has had to pay 300K for it. So just something interesting there. By pure market cap, the Messi is selling for 1.14x the Ronaldo. So that's not as crazy as the 2.17x on the single sale. So if you look at this from a market cap perspective, these two sales seem to make a lot of sense because Messi, at least in the hobby's current state, is seen as a little more valuable than Ronaldo is. Perhaps that is a market inefficiency you could try and take an advantage of, but in the current market structure that we have, Messi sees preference over Ronaldo. And the current preference rate is a 1.14x multiplier on the Mega Cracks card in particular, but when you compare the cards straight across to each other, not using market cap, the Ronaldo sells for about half of the price of the Messi, but once you add in market cap, that starts to make a lot more sense. So let's talk quickly about this from a buyer and seller perspective, mostly focusing on buyers, then I have a single point on the sellers at the very end of this. So the buyer for the 2004 Messi Mega Cracks rookie, if we look at this chart right here, there are no sales under 270K since 2020. So all of these sales in this range have been above 270K. This is the only sale in the past 2 years that was not above that 270K price range. And also there have only been 5 sales, not including the most recent one, since 2020. So this thing is something that rarely comes up for auction, and when it does receive that premium. So in my opinion, the buyer that we're dealing with here is likely a high net worth individual or group of individuals that have 10 million or more dollars in their net worth, and what they're thinking is, does saving the extra 50K to 100K in the short term really matter to a high net worth buyer that is looking at this as a long-term investment with high potential ROI? Now, in my opinion, we're looking at a high net worth individual that this card, whether it sells for anywhere between $200,000 or $350,000, is okay with that price, given that that money's not really going to affect them that much if they lose it, and they're looking at this as a long-term hold that eventually would be worth $2, $3, $4 million in the next 10, 15, 20, 25 years. So when you start looking at those numbers and you start looking at this as an investment that goes up 10, 20x, it doesn't really matter to you that much what your starting point is, whether that be an extra 50K, an extra 100K on something that you're trying to make multiple millions on. So from that perspective, I understand why they are okay paying that premium, especially because of this point here. With only 5 other public sales in the past 2 years, we don't know when the next chance will be to get one. So we do know that there are the majority of the people that bought this card for under 50K, but we don't know how many of those people want to sell it, and we don't know how many of those people want to sell it given the current market conditions. So there's a chance that in either the near-term future or the somewhat far-term future, at some point, in my opinion, we will reach a point where this card disappears from the market completely, and there will be a 2, 3, 4-year gap between PSA 10 public sales just because of how low population the card is, and at some point, everybody that's into this card will be wanting it for the long run. We see this with things like the Mantle 1952 tops in PSA 10. There are 3 PSA 10s, I believe, and none of them have sold since the 1990s because everybody that's holding them is in it for the super long run. And now that card, which was most recently bought for a few $100,000, is now worth in excess of $20 or $30 million, depending on who you ask in the industry. So that is the type of investment the people that are buying this Messi are trying to hope for. So if we transfer over to the Ronaldo, we're looking at a little bit of a different situation here. So the last 2 sales, which would be this one and this one, followed by the current sale, we're showing a clear downward trend. So the buyer is looking at a possible buy low opportunity in comparison to some of the higher sales on the chart here. An interesting note I put here is that 32% of the Ronaldo pop is sold over the past 2 years, whereas 25% of the Messi pop has sold over the past 2 years. So by a percentage population basis, Ronaldo has actually sold more. But when you think about how many cards more are out there for the Ronaldo, I think we're still more likely to see more Ronaldos coming to market than we are Messis, and that's just because there's almost double of them out there. So we have somebody that's trying to buy low, buy the dip on this one, and then we have somebody that's paying a premium for a long-term investment on this one. Both of these, I believe, are bought by people that have long-term investment goals in mind. So do with that opinion and information as you will. Briefly talking about the sellers here, I think both sellers, at least in my opinion, I don't have any information on who they are, but I think it's likely that they both bought in under 50K, possibly bought in under 20K, and if they bought these 5 or 6 years ago, they probably bought them under 5K. And so when you start looking at that from that perspective, in 5 or 6 years, their 5K investment went to $300,000 or $150,000. I think they would take those returns any day of the week. Even if you're this Ronaldo seller, say you bought for 10K and you saw it go to 300K, you didn't sell there, and then you saw these 2 sales and you're like, oh crap, it's now only 150K, I would still be fine at 150K, and you sell out. I can completely understand that. It's a very volatile market. It's a risky asset to continue holding. And you took a 5, 10K investment and you turned it into 100K. I don't think anybody is going to discount you for taking that sort of return. And so hats off to the sellers in this case. They both probably had huge ROIs from their initial purchases. Congratulations to them. And whatever they end up doing with that money, I think it was a great time to sell just because of the ROI return that they got. Lock in that cash and move it into whatever the next thing is, go on a vacation, get some more investments. But yeah, congrats to the sellers. They probably did extremely well with these 2 sales. Alrighty, which buyer made the better purchase? No official conclusion slide. This will work as my conclusion here. So I'm going to do some thoughts on who I think made the better purchase. So from the Lionel Messi perspective, at present time, this is the clear top Messi rookie and arguably the most iconic card in the hobby. I don't think it's much of a debate that the 71 Biz is more iconic than Ronaldo's Mega Cracks rookie, but feel free to debate that in the comments or with anybody else. I think, at least in my opinion, the Messi is seen as more iconic than the Ronaldo is. It is also half the population of the Ronaldo, and there's a chance it could disappear from the market for an extended period of time, whereas since the Ronaldo has double the pop, it is half as likely to disappear from the market. From the Ronaldo side, you have only 2 rookies for Ronaldo versus 7 for Messi. And I actually, when I was posting all these different alternative rookies for Messi and Ronaldo, I actually forgot to put the 2004 Mundi Chromo base, not the 4-player card, but the actual base card from Mundi Chromo. Completely forgot that that was even there, so I missed the Messi rookie here, but that gives you an example of just how many alternatives there are for Messi rookies as opposed to Ronaldo. So from that perspective, I like the Ronaldo purchase because the lack of alternatives that there are for other rookies to take away the cash from a theoretical pool of money that is going to be spent on Messi or Ronaldo rookies. You also got a big discount from a single card versus single card perspective. So if we line up specifically the Messi Mega Cracks against the Ronaldo Mega Cracks, getting the Ronaldo Mega Cracks for half the price just on a card versus card basis looks really good, even if you don't. This is, again, purely not taking into account the market cap. If you just look at it card versus card, and I think going forward, a lot of people will look at these two cards, card versus card. So from that perspective, getting Ronaldo for half probably makes a lot of sense. And even given that the market caps could stay relatively the same, I do think that these two cards will stay somewhat tied to each other in terms of pricing, but that's personal opinion. What we've seen over recent history is that they are not that close, but for some reason, I feel like they could end up being a lot closer than what they currently are. You also, if you bought this Ronaldo, you bought at the lowest point since November of 2020. Always good to try and buy at the bottom. We don't know for sure if they were able to buy at the bottom, but this is the lowest price in the past 2 years that has been paid for one. So good for them to get it at that price. The Messi buyer obviously did not get it at the lowest price since 2020. And then down here, in my opinion, this is what I would take away from this. If you value the Messi and Ronaldo equally, I think the Ronaldo buyer got a better deal, and that's specifically because of the fact that Messi has so many alternative rookies and Ronaldo only has the sticker and the card. So when we talk about alternatives, I think the Ronaldo buyer did better here because not only did they get a discount on market cap, they got a discount on single card, and there's less alternatives. So from those three fundamentals, I really like this purchase on the Ronaldo side, but I will leave this point down here. If the 71 Biz ends up being the card for the soccer hobby, like the 1952 Mantle is for the baseball hobby, or like the 1986 Fleer Jordan is for the basketball hobby, then I think the Messi buyer got the better deal here because that card will go astronomically up in comparison to most of the things in the market if this 71 Biz ends up being the card for the hobby. So that will be something to watch over the next 5, 10, 15 years to see how this shapes out, but very interesting purchases here. I'd love to see your thoughts on it. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. I'll see you guys in a future installment. I believe my next video will be a PSA reveal. I'm just waiting on the package to get to me from the mail today. I got absolutely crushed, so it'll be fun to look back on all the 5s and 6s I got in this return, so that'll be fun. And then after that, I still have another PSA submission coming back, I believe, in a few days. So 2 PSA submissions and then a raw card order that I've been waiting on for 3 months in China that looks like it's finally going to get through the United States over the next few days here. So I'll be excited to show what I got in that. And that will go ahead and conclude today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff if you enjoyed. And I will see you guys in the next few videos.